Hey guys, welcome to the 7-Figure Box Show. My name is Andrew Frezza, and this is part 2 of my wrap-up from 2019. I just recently posted my top 5 lessons learned from 2019, and in today's show, I'm going to be sharing my top 5 books from 2019. And I guarantee there's probably one book in here that isn't on the list that I probably missed, but as I was looking back through my Audible and my Kindle, these are the top 5 that I had that had an impact on me. And this is really geared towards the gym owner out there. I think it'll have an impact on really anybody out there, but these are the 5 that will probably have the biggest impact on a gym owner. Okay, so number 1 is a book called Never Split the Difference by Voss. Okay, I recently read this probably just a couple months back, and it was one of the most engaging books that I ever read. I actually listened to it on Audible, and I would highly recommend listening to the audio version of it. But it takes you through some actual hostage negotiations. Chris, who's the author, was one of the top FBI hostage negotiations for years. He also did like suicide hotline conversations that are actually similar to negotiation, which is very interesting. But it is just a fascinating book. The stories he shares, the tactical tips that he shares, and it's so much more than negotiation. I've heard negotiation books recommended for many years, and some of them I had purchased, but this is actually the first one I pulled the trigger on and read, and I'm so happy I did, because it's not just negotiation. It's sales, it's communication, it's listening, it's empathy. There's so much wrapped into his approach to negotiation that I think it is a must-read. This is a must-read for anybody. Okay, I think it's going to help a gym owner. I think it's going to help a coach, but I think it's a must-read for anybody. The second book from 2019 is Founder, Farmer, Tinker, Thief by Chris Cooper. And if you're listening to this podcast and you don't know who Chris Cooper is, and you are a gym owner or a small business owner, I would highly recommend checking him out. I've since subscribed to his email list after reading the book, and I'm a huge fan of his daily emails. A lot of insight there in just a short little window of time. But specifically as it relates to the Founder, Farmer, Tinker, and Thief, first of all, I hate the name, and I think if you're hearing the name and you're like, that really doesn't sound that interesting, you gotta believe me, you gotta trust me on this one, because it is worth it. And the reason the name is what it is because it represents the 4 stages of entrepreneurship. You start in founder phase. As we move up, we can move up to farmer phase, then tinker phase, and then eventually thief phase. And it's really cool because there's a combination of some really tangible tactical stuff, as well as some stories of both gym business stuff as well as outside business stuff. And I really like learning from outside business examples because it takes some of the emotional component out of it. When we're hearing about gym examples, a lot of times we take some of our preconceived notions into it. When Chris talks about a small business that's unrelated to ours, it's easier for us to have a objective viewpoint on those principles. Okay, so I'm a huge fan of this book, and my favorite part of this book is that at the end of each section, at the end of each of those 4 sections, Chris gives you a list of questions that you should be able to answer in order to get to that next stage of entrepreneurship. And this really helped us this past summer when we read the book to realize where some of the holes were in our game. Based on Chris's standards, we were sitting somewhere between the farmer and the tinker phase. And with stuff like the 7-Figure Box Show, that's definitely something that would sit in more of a tinker phase. Yet, we had a lot of holes in our game in that founder and farmer phase. And Chris was able to, through these questions, really clearly show us where those holes were. So what I would encourage you guys to do is get the book first and foremost, and then go through those questions at the end of each chapter and start chipping away at those. I think that before you get a business coach and before you pay for outside mentoring, you should at least pay $20 for this book and start to work through some of those things yourself. And then you're going to have a better idea of what someone else or an outside party can help you with, and you're going to have a huge head start. So I highly recommend Chris's book for any gym owner and any business owner out there. The third book that had a huge impact on me was The Infinite Game by Simon Sinek. And hopefully you guys have heard of Simon Sinek. You've maybe seen some of his videos, but this is a fantastic book. And if I had to pick one book that's had the biggest impact on us in 2019, it's probably going to be this book, because it forced us to take a hard look at our vision statement for CrossFit Palm Beach and decide to rewrite that vision statement. Okay, so I think ultimately this book, when we look back a couple years from now, is going to have the biggest impact in this period of time. And Simon just does a fantastic job. If you're still unsure about this, again, check out some of his YouTube videos. He has a great way of pulling you in quick. So if you like his stuff, you're going to realize it right away, and I think you're going to love this book. But the infinite game is this mindset that when it comes to our health, when it comes to our business, when it comes to our relationships, all those things are an infinite game. We can't win the game once and then be done with it, right? It's not a sport. It's not like it's a defined game or a defined season where we can say, yeah, we won, the 2012 NBA championship, and we can always hold on to that, that success. With a relationship, you can't have a really good year as a father. You can't have a really good year as a husband and then expect to ride the coattails of that for the rest of your life. Same thing's true with your health, your nutrition, your exercise, and your business. You can't just do something really well once and expect that that's going to carry you forward. So the infinite game is about that mindset piece first, and then it's really good about helping you, or at least sharing examples of where companies go wrong and where people go wrong about applying finite principles to these infinite fields in their life. And then if you're able to really embrace that infinite game mindset, and then you use it with these next two books that I'm going to give you, it's going to be a super powerful combination. Okay, so my book number 4 for 2019 is a book called Chop Wood, Carry Water by Joshua Medcalf. And this is an interesting book. It's a really short book. It's a story about a young boy who wants to become a samurai warrior, and it's really just about his journey of working hard to become a samurai warrior. And it's an interesting book in the sense it's super short read, it's super fast read, and it's almost like cheesy at times. And what I notice is it's like the combination of all my favorite personal development books that I've read up until this point. And there was moments where it was almost too obvious with the lessons it was trying to share, but I really liked that aspect. I liked the simplistic aspect of it, and I liked it when it was applied to this samurai example, this little fable that they created, because it gave you really good tangible examples of how you could apply it to your own life. So the fastest read on this top 5 list by far, and something I would definitely check out. Chop Wood, Carry Water is one of those things that's going to get you guys to really enjoy and love the process and understand what it really takes to create long-term lasting results and how those results can compound over years and decades of time. And then my 5th and final book for 2019 is a book called Atomic Habits by James Clear. And I was unsure if this book was read in 2018 or if it was read in 2019, but one of the things that I did when I read this book is as soon as I finished it, I started right back from the beginning and started reading it again because I thought it was so powerful and so impactful, but I also felt like I wasn't nearly implementing what I should have been implementing from this book, and I felt like I had to go through a second time and really start to implement some of the things that I was learning about in this book. And Atomic Habits is very similar message to the previous book, Chop Wood, Carry Water. And again, I think that if you can combine the mindset of the infinite game with sort of the habits and process focused nature of a Chop Wood, Carry Water or an Atomic Habits, then it's life changing. It really is life changing if you can apply those two things in a big way. Okay, so with Atomic Habits, he really breaks down how you can create habits, why you have certain habits. If you've read the book, The Power of Habit, a lot of people have recommended that book. I'm not actually as big of a fan of that book. I don't think it's actionable enough. I found that book was, once I got through the first couple chapters, I sort of got it and I was ready to move on. Where Atomic Habits to me is not that. It is 100 times better than The Power of Habit, and I think it's something that everybody should have. And it's not just for gym owners either. Great for coaches, great for people that just want to live a better life, and it's one of my favorite books in 2019. So that's it, guys. That's my top 5 list from 2019. And one thing that I want to leave you with is that if a book ever resonates with you, okay, I talked about this a little bit on my podcast about my 7 tips for faster learning. But if a book ever resonates with you, immerse yourself in that book and the material surrounding that book for an extended period of time, okay? So often people will read a really good book, say how great that was or think to themselves how great that was, and they'll immediately move on to the next thing. And when you find these really good books, I would encourage you to stay on that topic for a while until you can get some of these things to really be implemented into your life. So just kind of running through my list really quickly, like with the Chris Voss book, Never Split the Difference. As soon as I was done with that book, I started to listen to podcasts that Chris was on, actually purchased his masterclass online, which is fantastic if you guys want to dive into his material even more. When it came to Atomic Habits, like I said, I finished the book once and then immediately reread that book, and we were going through our nutrition challenge at the time that I was reading that book. So I remember, like, okay, how can I implement this thing in my nutrition and use the principles of Atomic Habits to implement that thing? And then when it came to the Infinite Game, we started to rewrite our vision statement almost immediately. I started to watch all of Simon Sinek's YouTube videos and podcasts and listen to it. I wanted to get this message on a deeper level and figure out the things that I was still missing from that message. And then the final book was The Founder, Farmer, Tinker, Thief. I signed up for Chris's email list. I'm getting those emails daily. I revisit Chris's questions and checklists every couple months in our business. So whenever you guys find these resources, don't let it be just enough for you to, consume the book and be done with it. When you find something that's really great, immerse yourself in the material, and that's going to help you guys really allow that book to make a difference in your life moving forward. All right, that's my top 5 books from 2019, and I'd love to hear what your guys' top books are. So if you're watching this video on YouTube, comment below with your top books from 2019 or a book or two that you really loved. And if you're listening to this on the podcast version, feel free to send me an email, andrew@crossfitpalmbeach.com. I'd love to hear what's having an impact on your life. Good luck in 2020, guys. We'll talk to you soon.